The winter air bit through the city that December morning, but Jonathan Richardson hardly noticed the cold. His girlfriend, Victoria, had just pointed toward a boy sitting on the sidewalk near the mall entrance and said with a casual laugh, "He looks like your dead son." The words stopped Jonathan in his tracks. On the ground sat a thin, ragged boy of about 10 years old, clutching a piece of cardboard scrawled with shaky handwriting. His hair curled the same way David's had. His head tilted just the same. Even the wide, searching eyes were the exact shade that haunted Jonathan's dreams. Victoria tugged his arm impatiently. "Jonathan, come on. We'll be late for the reservation." But Jonathan couldn't move. For 5 years, he had carried the grief of losing David. He thought time had dulled the pain. But one glance at this boy, and it all came rushing back. The boy noticed Jonathan staring. He rose to his feet politely, his sneakers full of holes, his oversized sweater hanging from his small frame. "Sir, do you have any change?" he asked softly. Victoria stepped back as if poverty itself were contagious. "Jonathan, don't," she whispered sharply. "These kids are just after money." But Jonathan's eyes didn't leave the boy's face. There was something there, something beyond a resemblance. Dignity, quiet strength, the same qualities David had carried, even in his hospital bed. "What's your name?" Jonathan asked. The boy straightened. "Gabriel, sir. Gabriel Santos." The sound of that name struck Jonathan like a bell. Victoria groaned, rolling her eyes. "Wonderful. Now we're making friends with street kids." But Jonathan wasn't listening. He watched as a gust of wind scattered papers for the hands of an elderly man passing by. Gabriel immediately bent down, gathering each sheet, handing them back carefully, even helping the man steady his groceries. No hesitation, no demand for reward, just instinctive kindness. Jonathan's chest tightened. This boy wasn't a beggar. He was something else. Gabriel returned to his spot, clutching his thin blanket, a battered notebook, and a broken pen as if they were treasures. He smiled shyly at Jonathan, a smile that carried both hope and hunger. And in that moment, Jonathan knew this meeting was no accident. If you think this is just another tale of a rich man pitying a poor boy, think again. Because what happened next would change both of their lives forever. Jonathan's gaze never left Gabriel's eyes. There was something there he knew too well, an old pain, the kind that never fades. The pain of losing someone you love. The pain of being crushed by a system that looks away when you need it most. He spoke gently. "Do you still write stories?" Gabriel hesitated, then nodded shyly. "Yes, sir. I write about people who help others, about families that stay together, about kids who still have parents." He stopped himself, lowering his head. "They're just silly stories." Jonathan's voice sharpened with unexpected firmness. "They're not silly. Dreaming is the most important thing a person can do." Victoria rolled her eyes, her laugh sharp and cruel. "Oh, wonderful. Philosophy lessons on the sidewalk. Jonathan, this is pathetic." But Jonathan didn't flinch. Something inside him was shifting, becoming clearer. Gabriel, sensing the tension, started backing away. "I don't want to cause trouble, sir. Thank you for talking to me." "Wait," Jonathan said, resting a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. "Tell me the truth. Have you eaten today?" Gabriel shook his head, embarrassed. That was enough for Victoria. "Jonathan, this is your last chance. Come with me now, or we are finished. Do you hear me?" "Finished." Jonathan turned to her. And for the first time in years, he felt absolute clarity. This wasn't about lunch. This wasn't about charity. This was about the man he had become and the man he wanted to be. He looked at Victoria with calm eyes. "Then our relationship ends here." Victoria froze. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. Jonathan reached into his wallet, then turned to Gabriel with a small smile. "Gabriel, how about lunch? I know a place that makes the best Italian food in town." Victoria's composure shattered. "You're choosing him? A dirty nobody over me," she spat. "When he robs you blind, don't say I didn't warn you. Everyone will know what kind of man you really are." She stormed off, heels clicking like gunfire across the pavement. Gabriel lowered his head, shrinking under the weight of her anger. "Mr. Jonathan, maybe I should just go. I don't want to cause you more trouble." Jonathan placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "No, you're not going anywhere. And don't listen to her. No one should ever speak to you that way. Gabriel gave a small, tired shrug. It's okay, sir. I'm used to it. Mrs. Victoria isn't the first person to think those things about me. Jonathan's jaw tightened. That single sentence revealed a lifetime of wounds. And it was in that moment he silently promised himself Gabriel's story was not going to end the same way David's had. As they walked toward the restaurant, Jonathan noticed something curious. Gabriel's lips moved silently as they passed storefronts, like he was whispering words to himself. Jonathan pointed to a Mexican restaurant sign written in Spanish. Do you know what that says? Gabriel hesitated, then answered quietly. Casa de la abuela. It means grandma's house. In Spanish. He blushed. I taught myself. From books people threw away. Jonathan stopped, stunned. What other languages do you know? Gabriel shifted nervously. English, of course. Some French, too. Not perfectly, but enough to read, speak a little. I found some old dictionaries. He looked down, embarrassed. I'm sorry. That must sound strange. Jonathan's eyes burned with admiration. Strange? Gabriel, that's extraordinary. Inside the restaurant, the staff greeted Jonathan with the same polished courtesy he'd grown used to. But Gabriel's wide eyes told another story. He felt completely out of place. Jonathan leaned toward him. Order anything you want. Anything at all. Gabriel studied the menu carefully. His lips moved again as he read. But this time, Jonathan noticed something else. The boy wasn't just reading. He was scanning the prices and always choosing the cheapest options. Gabriel, Jonathan said gently, I want you to order what you want, not what costs the least. The boy's eyes widened. How did you know? Jonathan smiled sadly. Because I do the same thing in your place. But my father used to tell me, kindness is priceless, but it always has value. Today, the value is you feeling welcome. As they waited for their food, Jonathan asked questions. For the first time in his life, someone cared to truly listen to Gabriel. And what he learned left him both amazed and furious. The boy studied at night, yet he was top of his class. He survived the streets, but still found ways to protect smaller children and share what little food he had. He read books from the trash, but also wrote essays so deep, so sharp, they could shame college students. Gabriel, Jonathan asked softly, have you ever thought about going to college? The boy chuckled, not bitter, just resigned. Sir, I can barely afford to eat. College is too big a dream. Not for someone like me. Jonathan leaned in. Someone like you is exactly the kind of person who belongs in college. A thought struck him. He pulled out his phone. Let's try something. Speak to me in French, any subject. Show me what you've got. Gabriel hesitated, then launched into fluent, elegant French. He spoke of his dream to study literature, his words flowing with a rhythm and grace that made heads turn. By the time he finished, several diners had stopped eating, listening in awe. Then a woman from a nearby table stood and walked over. Refined, confident, with a spark in her eyes. Excuse me, she said in English. I couldn't help but overhear. That was remarkable. I'm Dr. Sarah Chun, professor of languages at Columbia University. Gabriel froze, wide-eyed. She smiled warmly. Tell me, how did you learn to speak like that? Blushing, Gabriel replied in near-perfect English. Books, old movies with subtitles, and a lot of practice talking to myself. Dr. Chun glanced at Jonathan, her expression serious. Have you ever taken a proficiency exam? SAT, TOEFL, anything like that? Gabriel shook his head. No, ma'am. I've never had the money. Jonathan and the professor exchanged a look. Something unspoken passed between them. You know, Dr. Chun said gently, Columbia has a scholarship program for exceptional students in vulnerable situations. If you'd be willing, I could arrange for you to take those tests for free. Gabriel's breath caught. He looked to Jonathan, as if asking permission to dream. That would be amazing. Jonathan felt something stir inside him. A warmth he hadn't felt since David was alive. The feeling of doing something that mattered. Dr. Chun, he said firmly, would it be possible to schedule those tests next week? She smiled. Of course. Actually, I could do better than that. Dr. Chun leaned forward with a smile. Gabriel, how about you come to the university tomorrow? I'd like some of my colleagues to meet you. I have a feeling you might be exactly what we're looking for in our new pilot program. She handed him her card, already scheduling the meeting. Then she left. Gabriel stared at the card in his hand, speechless. His eyes shimmered as he whispered, Mr. Jonathan, I don't know how to thank you. No one has ever believed in me like this before. Jonathan put a hand on his shoulder. You don't need to thank me, Gabriel. Just be yourself. Show the world what you're capable of. He hesitated, then his voice grew quieter. There's something you should know. I had a son. He died 5 years ago. He was your age. And today, for the first time since then, I feel like maybe there's a reason for everything. A reason for me to be here, right now, with you. Gabriel's eyes softened. You said, may I ask what happened? Jonathan swallowed hard. Cancer. He fought for 2 years. But even while suffering, he was like you, kind, generous, always helping others. Jonathan's voice cracked. Seeing you reminded me that there's still goodness left in this world. Gabriel nodded silently, feeling the weight of the man's grief and his hope. But neither of them knew that elsewhere, someone was already plotting against them. Victoria. Humiliated by Jonathan's public defense of Gabriel, she sat in a private club that evening, surrounded by her circle of equally prejudiced friends. Glass in hand, venom dripping from her tongue, she twisted the truth, painting herself as the victim of a man who'd lost his mind and a clever street kid who was only after money. What Victoria didn't realize was that while her friends laughed, others at the bar were recording. And in the age of social media, words like hers don't just fade. They echo, they spread, they expose. 3 days later, Victoria woke up to find her name trending under one brutal hashtag. Hashtag elite racism. The video of her drunken rant had gone viral. Millions of views. Thousands of comments condemning her. Her own words thrown back in her face. These people need to fend for themselves. They'll steal your wallet. Beggars are worthless. Her phone exploded with calls. First, her boss. Victoria, you're fired. Our clients are canceling contracts. We can't have you associated with our agency. Then her best friend, Amanda. Imsuri. Beek. You can't come to our events anymore. The girls are furious. You've embarrassed us all. One by one, the pillars of her carefully curated life collapsed. Her social club revoked her membership. Her so-called friends stopped answering. Even her roommates demanded she move out immediately. Victoria's world crumbled. Meanwhile, Gabriel's life was transforming. At Columbia University, he stunned not only Dr. Chun, but an entire panel of professors. His test scores in French, Spanish, and English didn't just pass. He shattered records the institution had held for decades. In my 20 years of academia, I have never seen a self-taught student with this level of linguistic mastery, declared Dr. Martinez, the director of the Modern Languages Department. Gabriel is not only eligible for a full scholarship, he is exactly the kind of exceptional student our university needs to highlight. Jonathan's chest swelled with pride. Watching Gabriel on this prestigious campus, discussing French literature with world-class professors, felt like witnessing a miracle unfold in real time. As they walked across the courtyard, Jonathan turned to him. Are you sure you want to do this? Gabriel held the acceptance letter tightly, smiling with a confidence he had never known before. Mr. Jonathan, for the first time in my life, I am absolutely certain about something. Just then, Jonathan's phone rang. The screen flashed a name he hadn't seen since the scandal, Victoria. Her voice came through, broken, desperate. Jonathan, please. You have to help me. My whole life is falling apart because of a stupid video. I didn't mean those things. I was angry. You know me. Jonathan cut her off, his tone calm but firm. No, Victoria. You showed exactly who you are. Those weren't words spoken in anger. That was your true character. But you don't understand, she cried. I lost my job. My friends. People are threatening me online. Please, can you post something to defend me? Just one word could save me. Jonathan looked over at Gabriel, who was peeking into a philosophy lecture, his eyes glowing with hunger for knowledge. Jonathan's voice grew steady. 3 days ago, you called me a fool for treating Gabriel like a human being. Today, he just received a full scholarship to one of the best universities in the country. Tell me, Victoria, who was right? The silence on the other end said it all. Your consequences aren't my fault, or Gabriel's, Jonathan continued. They are the result of your choices, your words. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like justice has finally been served. He ended the call. Gabriel approached him gently. Was she asking for help? She was, Jonathan admitted. But here's the difference between you and her, Gabriel. When you needed help, it was because the world hadn't given you the chance you deserved. She needed help because she destroyed her own life. That afternoon, Gabriel stood at the university bookstore, running his hand across shelves of books he had once only dreamed of owning. Meanwhile, Victoria sat alone in her empty apartment, scrolling through endless comments dissecting her cruel words. The world she had built on prejudice had collapsed, and she had no one to blame but herself. Jonathan's story, however, was only growing. His social media following had doubled after someone revealed his connection to Gabriel. But instead of using that attention for himself, Jonathan chose to spotlight Gabriel and others like him. He posted a picture of Gabriel standing inside Columbia's great library with a caption that read, "Real privilege isn't being born with opportunities. It's recognizing talent wherever it appears and having the humility to learn from it." Victoria read those words and felt the sharp sting of regret. She hadn't just lost a boyfriend. She had lost the chance to become a better person. Because in the end, while she exposed her prejudice and lost everything, Gabriel revealed his kindness and gained the world. But what none of them knew was that Jonathan had discovered something shocking that very morning. A truth that would make this story even more profound and emotionally devastating than anyone could have imagined.